And boom, according to that, I am live. Welcome. This is Tokyo Tonight. I am maxing out the levels. Let's just turn that down a little bit. How you doing? My name's Secret Simon. This is Tokyo Tonight. It is 10:32 p.m. Japan Standard Time. We already have 10 people in the chat. In fact, with this setup I'm using lately, there we go. I can see 5 likes, 10 people logged in. It's good to see you. We're glad that you can make it. We've already got bunch of people. Mr. Cordy Chep, Kerberos Tenshi, Quint Ranked, Shibus. Who else we got? Ill Dependence. Good to see you. Ahoy indeed. We've got Aaron with Butter Boom. Good to see you. Is This My Life? Hi from Sweden. Great to see you. Kerberos Tenshi, one for me already, is one of my news stories about the volcanic eruption happening that's creating a new island again. Not 100% sure where at the coast of Japan it's happening right now. I'm not aware of that. I'm aware there's a big volcanic eruption happening in Kamchatka right now, in Russia, north of Japan. But not aware of a new island. I mean, yeah, it happens all the time in Japan, but that is not one of the stories that I've got. I don't have a lot of stories this week. One, it was a slow news week, and two, I've had a busy week with work and whatnot. So yeah, I've got what I've got. The big news, of course, we've got hi from Sweden, hi from Panama, yabba dabba do. Lots of people in here. Don't don't spill your coffee, but definitely hit the like button. I do appreciate that. 7 likes, 9 views, not bad. Great to see so many people already rocking in. Project X01, good to see you, Project X01. Nice to see a nice new handle name in there. In fact, had a great thing this week. I had Milchman2, often in the comments, was nice enough to ping and say hello, was passing through Tokyo on a trip through Japan and said, hey, can we meet up for lunch? And we met up for lunch, and yeah, really cool to meet up with people. So yeah, it's sort of nice to say hello, and it's and he was talking as well about what a great sort of group it is, which I definitely think it is. The big news of the night, of course, well, I'm not really a big baseball fan, to tell you the truth. I've never really gotten into it in Japan, but one of the big things, sort of like even if you go to America, and even if you don't know about about baseball, everybody knows about the Chicago Cubs curse, and the Japan equivalent of that is the Hanshin Tigers curse. The last time they won a Japan series in 1985, they celebrated a little bit too much. They always jump in this horribly polluted river in Osaka. I've talked about this before. And in the celebrations in 1985, somebody apparently got a little bit carried away and took a Colonel Sanders statue that they've got. All the Japanese KFC restaurants, they all have a Colonel Sanders statue out in front. People love the Colonel in Japan, and apparently somebody took things a little bit too far. They took a Colonel Sanders statue and they tossed him into the river. And it kind of took everyone a little bit aback, like, hey, did we go a little bit too far with this? And when they started having like really, really bad years after that, people started to talk about the curse of the Colonel, that until the statue of Colonel Sanders could be recovered from the Dotonbori, which is basically impossible because it's so polluted, then the team would remain cursed. And while it kind of started as a joke, we got up to 2023, and people were starting to take the curse idea seriously. So the fact that they just won, like literally about 10 minutes ago, kind of a big deal. People are jumping into that river, and they are going to get sick. In fact, one of the theories I originally had on the Osaka Expo mascot, Myaku Myaku, was that, as I've written on the screen, started out as a Hanshin fan, and by jumping into the river, started to look like this. So there's a great little animation being shared at the moment. Nice little bit of CG, it's worth sharing. So he started out as a regular fan, and then he jumped in the river and ended up looking like that, along with a number of persistent rashes and treatments requiring long treatments of antibiotics. But there you go. More people rocking into the chat. We've got the Sergeant Bilko, great to see you in the chat. Who else we got in here? We've got Sadiq Hakanguris, great to see you as always. Thank you for the information. Sierra Space, did not know it was a Turkish-owned company, or at least company owned by Turkish people, Turkish American citizens, because they wouldn't be getting permission for American space launches, I guess, if they weren't like American citizens. I think that's what the New Zealand company Rocket Lab has become like, but a Turkish company. It's really cool, and really cool founders. So really appreciated you sharing that during the week, Sadiq. Who else we got? Traveling Gabriel. The curse of the Colonel is over, indeed. People in Osaka, somebody actually in the cheering crowds, there was the Colonel lives. So if you see pictures like that, that's what it means. Definitely good to see. Fukuoka won the football cup yesterday. I didn't know that for J1. I haven't been keeping up, so there we go. Wing Star, good morning from New Jersey. Good to see New Jersey represented in the chat. And everyone else. Have I missed anybody? I don't think I have, but I'm going to look straight ahead because I can see the comments in both directions. And I can look at the camera better that way. Yeah, cuppa is nice and hot, says Shivers. And glad to hear that. I am jealous. It's too late in the day, 10:30 p.m. If I had a coffee, I would be up all night. But I must admit, one day I got to try that coffee that you're having when you watch the show. I've just got, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I'd just be disappointed. The dreams of the amazing Panamanian coffee that Shivers drinks while watching this. Maybe nothing can live up to that. But yeah. So anyway, the weather at the moment, I have to tell you, the climate change, human-caused climate change is the biggest, for all the wars and strife and horror in the world right now, the very biggest challenge facing humanity right now is climate change. And this year, that combined with El Nino and everything else has just made it an extraordinarily hot year in a way that really rings the science, which had like the best, middle, worst case scenarios back in the 1990s when they first started picking up that this was actually a thing and the consensus aligned. We're currently on a track way worse than the worst case scenario. And that meant that this summer I've been here 25 years, and summer in Tokyo and in Japan in general is always hell. This year was far and away the worst ever, like really bad, like dangerously bad. However, while this is a terrible, terrible thing, we are having lovely autumn weather right now. We're kind of having autumn weather here, like summer, like an ideal summer for me. It's like, mid to high 20s. It's like a really nice summer day in UK or New Zealand, which is a bit of a paradox because it generally rains a lot in New Zealand and UK. But when you get a sunny day, it's not too hot. It's sunny. It's just nice. That's what it's been like. Normally in Japan, if you know Japan, the seasons just flip. They just go from being like 35 Celsius and above. So, high 90s, and they just flip straight into being like 40 degrees Fahrenheit, straight into like 10 degrees. And there's only like 1 week of in between of pleasantness. And, you want it just to hold on for a couple of weeks and it doesn't. We've had like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, record temperatures for November. But record temperatures for November are really, really nice in Japan. I think we're possibly having right now, having had the worst summer I've ever experienced in Japan, I think we're probably having the best weather I've ever experienced in Japan, actually. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. We've had that ideal middle spot that you just don't get in Japan. So besides the yen hitting 152 this week, so Japan just continuing to be on a ridiculous sale, both without tipping, without hidden tax, without inflation, and the yen on top of that being undervalued by like about 50%. The weather has been astounding and appears like it's going to continue for another couple of weeks. Like, yeah, I don't know if you can get tickets now, but I would say this is probably like the best time right now to come to Japan that it's ever been. So, yeah, it's been amazing lately. Climate change rocks, Mr. Quarterchip. Hugo Simon 2023. Well, it has its upsides. It's terrible. But I do feel like we're entitled to it after that. Like, what the hell was that summer? I don't know what we're even doing with that. Eric Bailey, glad that you can make it in. You're here now, so we can move on the important part of the show. Thank you, Eric Bailey. Glad that you let us do that. Eat Me Raw asks, does it feel warmer this year? It feels like noticeably warmer. And I know it's not just, like climate change. There's waves and ups and downs in between, and it's on a high peak within that. But it's like having a typhoon on top of a king high tide. It's the heat on top of the heat that we're getting at the moment is just ridiculous. So yeah, that's right. Autumn lasts like 2 weeks though. Well, it's kind of cold and sunny and dry for a long time, and normally it actually goes. The weather is pretty stable until like about January, but it does get wintry cold pretty fast. So that's what Aaron means by the 2 weeks, and that's definitely true. But so what we're having right now is not autumn. It still isn't autumn yet. I'm still going out in t-shirt and shorts, which nobody in Japan is, because Japanese dress by the season, not by the weather. But I'm out in flip-flops and sort of cargo pants and stuff at the moment. It's still summer clothes for me. So that is a thing. That is enjoyable. Yeah, of course, still got the kernel up there on the screen. Believe in yourself. Good to see you. You were distracted by Crypto 7's ongoing Sunday stream. I'm glad that you can make it, and hope that Crypto 7 is doing okay. Isn't too put out by, what's his face, SBF. Going to jail, as he's likely to do. So yeah, the topics that I've picked out for today are, Gaijin heroes and villains. There's stories about both this week. Most have some positive stories though around that. A bunch of other stuff. Eric Bailey. Oh, Eric Bailey. We have a red pillar in the chat. We've got global. This all won't fit. I don't know how to make this font down the bottom smaller so I can fit in complete topics. But yeah, thanks for enlightening us. A hoax perpetuated by the Martians to keep Elon Musk on it. Could be. Just ask the space probe. I will do that. I will do that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that inside information. So yeah, anyway, it's been an interesting week. Thank you for saying hello. If you haven't said hello yet, do say hello. I do appreciate it. Yeah, 26 degrees in Kyoto today. Incredible for this time of year to get that. Like I say, it just goes straight from 35 to 10. It just goes straight from like singlet to parka, heavy parka. So danged Martians indeed. Global cooling is the real problem. Yeah, you get people who say that as well, don't you? So anyway, let's jump in. So congratulations to Hanshin. Even I'm not really a baseball fan. Full congrats to them. What else have we got tonight? Former politics. I do appreciate that you tolerate me talking about politics. That guy, Naoto Kan, former prime minister, announced that at 77 years old, he thinks it's time not to run for re-election in the next election, which is likely to be next year in Japan. And it's kind of funny. I always, maybe I'm more vocal about this because I'm out of sync. I found that during the whole Great East Japan earthquake, tsunami, Fukushima thing, Gaijin Twitter, Gaijin online community were kind of fawning over him as how he did as prime minister then, where it's kind of funny. For me personally, and for most of the Japanese internet, they were like, this is the worst prime minister ever. And it's kind of funny. People who were around that time are still so divided. I've not found many foreigners who share my view that he was like one of the worst prime ministers ever. And I elaborated on that. Mori was a worst prime minister. There have been worse prime ministers in my time in Japan, but no one expected anything of Mori. Everybody knew that he was, a brain damaged, geriatric chauvinist. Khan got in, one of the 2 times since the whole post-war thing that the opposition, got into government. And they made a whole bunch of promises, and all they had to do was just hold it together and do average. And instead, he just took out the daggers and started like attacking everyone in his own party and reversing and breaking every promise that they made. He did so much damage. Like the whole reason now that we'll get to this as well, the government currently only has 26% approval. One of the lowest ratings ever. 62% of people do not even want cash from Kishida. Kishida's like desperate. He's seeing that he's now pretty much finished, and he's worried about losing his role as PM and head of the party. So he's just suddenly said, okay, I'm just going to give everybody $400. What do you say? And everyone's saying, no, screw you, guy. That's how unpopular he is, that they won't even take money from him. And yet, still, no opposition party can poll like more than 6 or 7% because of this guy, because this guy did so badly as opposition that nobody is willing to give the opposition another chance. So long as people remember him, I actually think him retiring is good, because when people see his face, they remember how bad the Democrats were. And they don't give them another chance. And it's unhealthy, but it's his fault. Some people say that Hatoyama was worse or Noda was worse or something, but no, for me it was this guy. So I sort of rave a little bit again in silence. Not many people pay attention, but for me, he joined the Japan Socialist Party when even the Socialist Party was considered to be too crazy by the communists. The Socialist Party were the affiliated sister party of the North Korean Workers' Party. They were the party whose leader in the 1990s said that North Korea is a paradise on earth, and had parliamentary exchanges with the North Korean government. That's the party he decided to join. So I'm not a fan of him at all. I think he's got terrible judgment, and he was a terrible prime minister. And I say fight me, but then I realize no one's interested in politics, so we move on as we do. But that is a thing that happened tonight. So that the chicken and this, he's a young buck compared to Dianne Feinstein, or indeed, I think same age as Donald Trump now and younger than Biden. There has to be, especially given that the populations everywhere are generally aging, I really think this is going to get worse. So there should be mandatory retirement limits on everything, including politicians. I think 65 myself, but what can we do? Hey, Eric Bailey, in this case, the communists are actually more sane than the socialists in this case. He was a socialist, but, ain't no party like a communist party. So, yeah, what else have we got here? Oh, this was an interesting one. So, again, I'm going through my Nichan summary things, and apparently, right-wing radical, this was actually, I originally got this from a Nichan feed, although I ended up just doing the retweet, which this was based on. So the story here is that in Kumamoto, the Kumamoto mayor invited foreign residents to come and say, hey, what can we do better to make foreigners more welcome in our city? And this, studious-looking young lady went up and said, well, we love it here in Kumamoto, but if you're asking for advice, we find it really hard to follow the Japanese imperial calendar, so you can maybe consider using the Western calendar on more public documents. And we really think it'd be great if cafeterias could be considerate of people's religious dietary needs and so on. For your consideration, she submitted to the mayor, and this was covered in local news, apparently in Kumamoto, to which Murasame Tatsu, who I didn't really know much about. I think I've actually heard of this guy. He's like a landscaper from Sweden who naturalized and became Japanese and then became like a TV star. He's like a talento basically now. So he is Japanese, but that's him. He's a Swedish guy who naturalized, became Japanese. So he saw this news story and basically wanted to, his response was, Nihon wa Nihon no mama de ii desu. Japan can be okay just as Japan. Surely, you can handle that much. Right now, you look at Sweden, France, and England, and look at the way that they're going down the toilet. I don't want Japan to end up like Europe. And the funny thing about this is, so he goes all, if you don't like it, go home, Gaijin, to this nice little girl who was responding to a survey from the mayor asking for this sort of feedback. And the Japanese Twitter, which is typically like the most right-wing sort of voices of the whole Japanese internet, even the Japanese, Nichan is reacting like, yeah, actually, the imperial calendar system kind of sucks. I can never tell what year it is. I'd be okay with changing that. So yeah, it's usually the self-hating foreign-born guy in the room seems to be the one screaming, "Go home, Gaijin." But yes, there's a funny situation there anyway. And actually, he even got a Twitter correction pointing out that the original underlying the girl was actually invited by the mayor to provide the feedback. She wasn't just complaining about Japan to the mayor, which seems to be what he was reacting to. So yeah, I don't know. So there are many reasons I don't have Japanese citizenship. But sometimes, it doesn't advertise itself well. There are some very cool people with Japanese citizenship, but there are some people who are like, whoa, I don't want to join that club. Yeah, I'm looking forward to dual citizenship, and hell, the girl's right. I mean, even about the diet, what's wrong with being considerate for dietary needs? The idea that that's ruined Sweden kind of makes him look like a neo-fascist refugee. So, but I get it. He wants to appeal to his crowd, and he is on TV. So I don't know. Maybe who knows? But you're a self-hating Gaijin, except he's a Japanese citizen, of course. But ethnically, I don't know. I found that kind of an interesting situation. Record temperatures in Japan that I was just talking about. 46 years, highest ever November temperature hit in Osaka. And it's just been, and it's not like one day, it's been like this the whole month. So what can we do? Couldn't rank it. Can I please tell you a little bit about the imperial calendar? Well, the imperial calendar is basically, it's the same system that the Romans have and a lot of countries have, where they base the calendar on the number of years of the rule of, the current reigning emperor. And actually, I've got a perfect example of this. So, Showa was good because at least being born or starting the Showa reign, starting in 1925, meant that it was relatively easy to convert. I was born in 1975, Showa 50. So also having that as a baseline, I could just add my age, whenever I needed to figure out a Showa year, which Showa ran up to 1989. So if there's something that happened when I was 12 years old, I just have to add Showa 62. It's just 50 plus 12. So that was always pretty easy to figure out. The problem was the Showa emperor died in 1989, and it switched over to Heisei, which was base 89, and no one could convert anything anymore. And if you just held on for one more year, made it to 90, it would have been a little bit easy. But then you got Heisei, and that lasted for I don't even know when. We're up to Reiwa 5 right now, so I guess he lasted until 2017 or 23 and it's 5, so subtract 2018. And he retired, right? He didn't pass away. So the Heisei emperor is still around. But the point is, my driver's license has a 10-year, right now it's Reiwa 5, but my driver's licenses in Japan have a 10-year expiry. So my driver's license, which lists the imperial calendar year, like a lot of official documentation does, it says, come back and renew your license again in Heisei 39. And it's like Reiwa 5 right now, and I've got no idea how that converts to Heisei 39 doesn't exist because it only went up to Heisei 34 or whatever it was. And so, yeah, my expired license, I had to keep, once a year I'd get paranoid and I'd have to convert and figure out, okay, so Heisei 39 is what would have been Reiwa 5, but we didn't know that the emperor was going to change. So it just makes it impossible to keep track. When you hear that, someone was born, famous artist born in Taisho 12, well, okay, so you know that he was born before Showa, before 1925, but you don't know what year, or Meiji 13. So the Western calendar system, at least you can tell when things happened and when things convert. But, having every emperor going back to 660 BC. The Japanese domestic calendar follows the reigns of different emperors that entire time, like the 25th year of King Arthur. Who knows what year that is? That said, of course, sure, the Western calendar, Anno Domini, based on, a probably inaccurate measurement of the birth of Christ. There was a funny, Mel Brooks made a funny joke about that in the history of the world. I think it was, he's talking about, what is it with our calendar? Last year it was 53 BC, and this year it's 52 BC. It doesn't make any sense. What are we counting up to? What are we counting down to? Coming from Mel Brooks as well on top of that. Of course, and there are different calendars that exist. I think there's a Hebrew calendar actually, which goes back to I think it's the year 7,000 and something in the Hebrew calendar. There's a Thai calendar. There's a Mayan calendar, which we've just restarted. I think it goes up to 12,000. So there are lots of different calendars, but the point is having a longer term calendar helps you count the years more easily. But the imperial calendar just sucks for everybody, even for Japanese people. It sucks. So this girl's saying, hey, can we just all agree to just use the Western calendar? I don't think it's really a religious decision or anything like that. It's just easy, but there you go. Quentin Rankid, you need an app. We all need an app. Everybody needs an app. It sucks. Probably does make you better at math, but what can you do? Kerberos Tenchi, imagine all the documents that had expiration dates that don't exist due to different reigns. Well, that's what I had with my driver's license. Would be void the moment that they announce a new era. Well, that's not what happens. You have to figure out. Theoretically, you could say that my driver's license, see, this is the thing. It's easier to do Showa because it's base 25. So this year's 23, so it's Showa 98. So you could say it's Showa 98. You could say that it's Heisei 39, or you could say it's Reiwa 5, or whatever the hell it is right now. So, yeah. Eric Bailey, do I have a minute to talk about Jesus time? Anno Domini, the Western calendar. I think that's all that there is to that. But anyway, the emperor sounds pretty narcissistic. I don't think it's the current emperor's fault. But anyway, that's the thing. That's the imperial calendar. I was talking about before how, how unpopular do you have to be where the support for the calendar hits a record, for the cabinet hits a record low of not 26, 28%, but 62% of people said you can take your stimulus package and shove it up your backside. Literally, he's offering a year before the upcoming election a Hail Mary. He's going to do, using the old LDP playbook, hey, how about I just give you cash? Which I think Taro Aso did, and the good thing about being a foreigner is even though we can't vote, we all get the handout. He's literally offering basically tax cuts, but that will add up to the equivalent of about a $400 handout. And everyone's saying, yeah, but you're just going to add a new tax somewhere else. Like, you're going to make us pay for it. We don't trust you. And your glasses, your glasses look suspicious is like a catchphrase at the moment. Your glasses look like you're going to raise taxes. So yeah, it's kind of funny. He literally cannot even get people to trust him to hand out money. So the government's in that sort of a situation. Yeah, that's right. Showa was definitely easy to convert. Time Lords, Time Lords and Saviors. Doctor Who fan. So yeah, what else have we got going on here? Now here we go. There was a video, Dotonbori. So yesterday, people thought that the Hanshin Tigers might have won yesterday. Apparently yesterday, a woman fell into the river by accident, and no one jumped in or did anything. Everyone just sort of watched her. So this big old foreign-looking chap jumped in the river with his shoes. I would have taken my shoes off, but look at that, with his shoes on, jumped in. Took her out of the river and pushed her up and saved her life. So he saved her life, and these people are pulling her up. But look, what bugs me the most about this, that guy's a hero, and he deserves to be praised for it. She's wearing a mask over. She's just been drowning, and she's in a river with a wet, quite thick-looking mask over her face. They've pulled her out of the river, and she should be getting like resuscitated right now. But why is nobody ripping the mask off her face? She's being waterboarded now that she's being taken out of the river, which itself is kind of a health hazard. Like, that river is famously polluted. But forgetting that, why is no one taking her mask off? Like that's so crazy. And for the guy himself, there's another video. There he is getting out of the river. Afterwards, and like, yeah, one person comes up and says good job, and everyone else is just sort of walking around. This person just saved a woman's life. He jumped in the river when no one else did. Not only that, there were police all over the place there for crowd control, and no one jumped in. The only person who jumped in was this guy, who is a freaking legend, whoever he is. So you are a legend. And yeah, I'm getting, it's crazy to me that with all the police milling around in the Osaka Dotonbori area, nobody even acknowledged the fact that this guy just saved a woman's life. And yeah, he deserves the keys to the city. Like, this guy's a freaking hero. They should find out who this guy is and give him a freaking award. And I posted that, like, what, about how long ago? 7 hours ago? And it's like one of the most retweeted tweets I've done probably all year, actually. It's kind of making my phone explode at the moment. So yeah. Anyway, this guy deserves like all Banff of the day, I think is what Philip DeFranco would call it. This guy deserves all the praise, and look at it, nobody even cares, and he's the only guy who jumped in to go save her life. So yeah, this guy's a freaking hero and a legend. Why didn't the police do anything? Why didn't anyone else do anything? And why isn't he being given like a bigger parade than the Hanshin Tigers right now? So that's a thing. Anyway, well, it seems like there are no cops visible in the video, so maybe this wasn't even from yesterday, but if this was from yesterday, then yeah, there should have been police around, because they were guarding to make sure no one would do that, no one would jump in. So I don't know what's going on. But anyway, this guy's an absolute legend, and he deserves all the good things. Yeah, what else have we got going on here? I see that actually Quint Ranked, we did a switch to a better calendar. That's right, we had the Julian calendar, which was always, it wasn't quite accurate, so we switched. And that's right, Russia, I think, stuck with the old Roman Empire calendar, which is why they're all out of sync. But yeah, what Quint Ranked said, he knows all about the calendars there. Sadiq, good to see you, because it's Halloween. Who knows? Crypto Airy, indeed, I hope we learn his name as well. This guy, you're a legend. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. That's like freaking awesome. And it's nice after all the, for all the basically toxic like trolling of bad gaijins that we've just been seeing endlessly, all the Johnny Somalis and all the everything else. It's pretty nice to be able to see a guy who's just a straight up freaking cool ass hero like that guy. So I salute you, sir. Other cool stuff about Japan. I've heard some people dispute that, saying that this cannot be true, and I don't know if it's true or not, but you talk about the highest grossing media franchises of all time. Some people saying that Disney has to be worth more than that, and I kind of agree with that. I mean, when you consider Disney's like Mickey Mouse, or I guess maybe it is just of that single character rather than the whole Disney thing. But we talk about, I don't know how this lines up exactly, actually, but apparently Pokemon. And you can see the color coding there. So you've got merchandise, but of course for Pokemon, also a big chunk of video games. What's orange? Trading cards and all sorts of stuff there. Hello Kitty, all merchandise. Winnie the Pooh, more merchandise. Winnie the Pooh is bigger than Mickey Mouse. Star Wars, a bit more of a split, but Anpanman, which of course in Japan is like all kids do Anpanman stuff. Mario, of course, big for video games. But when you look at all these properties and how many of them are Japanese, Dragon Ball Z down the bottom there, does go to show the soft power of Japan, that some of these brands are so big. So, and yes, indeed. What else have we got here? I was very impressed by this guy and the original retweets and then my comments. There was another interesting story. We often talk about the family law thing here, and what this law in Japan, Colin P.A. Jones, he talks a lot about Japanese law articles. There was a tabloid weekly article saying that Aifukara, the Japanese sort of table tennis champion who represented Japan at the Olympics, she's married to a Taiwanese guy and has a child with him, although apparently, she left the family and I believe had an affair. And whatever, as these things do, the marriage sort of fell apart. And both in Japan and in Taiwan, in both countries, I believe this is the case. I could be wrong about these facts. But he was awarded sole custody. So in Taiwan, she has rights of access on his agreement, but basically Japan doesn't have a concept of joint custody or visitation rights. So actually, it's an unusual case where the husband, who is a foreigner, and the husband got sole custody in both countries. And apparently, when she was went to go visit to go see her son in Taiwan, she a parental abduction case. She took the son back to Japan, and this was a while ago now. In fact, how long? 2021, so 2 years ago now. And she brought the son back to Japan and has refused access to the husband since then. And it looks like now in Japan, police are set now to actually arrest her and charge her with child abduction, which you can get. Some people get confused. Obviously, there is parental child abduction, which is when you abduct a child in violation of a custody order, which although Japan doesn't have, typically in Japan, what you hear about with parental child abduction is cases where overseas the Japanese parent will take the kid back to Japan and be sort of sheltered from being able to, the other parent never sees the kid again. This is a case where, perhaps because it's Taiwan and because I think they were living in Japan, police actually recognize the sole custody rights of the husband and is looking at charging a very popular sort of celebrity Japanese sportswoman with abduction for it. Although now the kid's been with the mum for 2 years. Again, when you do these parental abduction cases, which I did in law school, you do take into account how, the age of the kid. If they're a young kid, you try to take into account, the habitual residence where the kid's most used to. So it's a terrible mess for the kids anyway, and the police have been way too slow. However, there's a lot of facts missing from the article, and it may just be sensationalizing that she could be facing very late consequences for this. But it would mark an interesting turning point because typically, Japan is known as a country where if you're married to a Japanese person, and particularly if you're living abroad and the Japanese and you're having a bad marriage, and the Japanese spouse, male or female, takes the child and goes back to Japan, there's a lot of cases where the other parent, the foreign parent, never sees the kid ever again. And the authorities, there's notably a case a few years ago when an American who had custody, and it was joint, had primary custody of the child in America. The mum abducted back to Fukuoka, and he came to Fukuoka and basically took the kid out of school and was preparing to take the kid onto a flight. And the police arrested the father, and the American embassy in Japan made a big fuss of that with the police, and they released the father very quickly, but said that in Japan he doesn't have recognized rights. There are a lot of things like this that have caused a lot of diplomatic pressure to come on to Japan to recognize international treaties about joint custody. Not really clear from the facts here how this would work out in this case, but this is an unusual case where the Japanese abductee seems to be the one finally getting targeted, which sets some sort of a positive precedent anyway, given, of course, the pain that these sorts of things cause, particularly foreign parents. Sated Sir, excellent to see you. Thanks for saying hello there. And Kerberos Tenshi, considering Mickey Mouse, Star Wars, Marvel are all Disney, it's only fair to split it all up a bit. I sort of agree with that those are all sorts of brands, so there you go. yeah, I mean, terrible situation, but just sort of an interesting precedent anyway. Man, we were having a really, really slow news day yesterday. I was going through news thinking I need some topics for the show. What's in the news today? The first one is news that Japan's bullet trains are to get rid of smoking rooms by spring amid health trend. To which I thought, wow, the 1970s called and they want their health trends back. Since when is getting rid of a smoking room on a train a health trend? I mean, cigar, literally as part of a health trend, banning cigar jackets. I don't quite understand how getting rid of smoking rooms is part of this crazy health boom. But yeah, why not? I mean, it's a positive. I'm surprised that you can still smoke on bullet trains at all, actually. So that was something that caught my attention. And a slow news day in Tokushima, the Tokushima local news online. Big news article here. You can see from the Japanese there. A bus overran the bus stop. Female school student ran 200 meters chasing the bus and was then able to get onto the bus. That's a headline. I mean, I shudder to think what the actual story is, but that's the headlines in Tokushima. I come from New Zealand. New Zealand is like a permanent slow news country. Like I look up the news in New Zealand sometimes, and it's literally somebody lost a sheep or something. But it's kind of funny to live in a country with 124 million and dropping people, and the news is just as slow sometimes. I mean, literally, girl misses bus and chases it. Yeah, this person gets all of the awards for the best peaceful Japan news story, I think. Sometimes it's nice just to see how sucky your news is, and that it reflects that you're living. It's a nice day. Believe in yourself. As a former smoker, I remember when I first came to Japan in the 90s. In fact, 1991, I think, was the year I first came to Japan, and the express trains, like the ones that you use for traveling like between cities, you nearly die going through the smoking cars. Everyone was smoking. It was awful. What else have we got here? So that's the one about Fukuhara. There's a video game about being unable to find a subway exit, and you have to find your way out of a train station. While I think this is an interesting concept, I would say the train transfers at Shibuya Station would be right now, because that station's been like under construction for 2 or 3 years, and they've created all of these construction site detours. And it's already a complex station to change trains to begin with, but with all the construction stuff, it's complex and it's always changing. I think that they missed out on a huge opportunity of not making this about Shibuya Station. But this is very realistic. I mean, that's definitely... And that idea of getting lost, looking for exit number 8 in this case, looking for a train station exit. Yeah, definitely realistic. So yeah, DJ Sunny Side Up, you met a hitchhiker from Germany in the ocean today. If they were hitchhiking in the ocean, I would say they took a wrong turn somewhere. No, just joking. Good to see you there in the chat, DJ Sunny Side Up. And pretty cool that you saw them in the ocean. So they were surfing or just going for a swim or something. That's pretty cool. And welcome into the chat. Oh yeah, I went into Yodobashi Camera. I just sort of got a thing where, I don't know how I got onto it, but I was thinking, I'm sort of getting close to birthday territory. So I was thinking, what do I get myself? And one thing I saw, which was better than I was expecting, they have these, they call them AR glasses, but they're not really AR. They're just video screens embedded in glasses, but they've gotten to be quite good resolution and small. So I've seen all these sort of ads, X-Reel ads for these things that, can project 300-inch screens that you can watch like on an airplane without having to bend your neck over looking at an iPad. And I thought that looks really cool. The thing is that they still cost a lot, like in Japan, like 61,000 yen. And all the reviews are like sponsored. So yeah, it looks like they're not quite there yet, although it was really interesting to look at those. So I think we're getting close to the territory. I don't really care about having like cameras on them, and I don't want to wear a full headset, but if you can get anything that looks like regular glasses that you can like watch video on, like for a commute or for flying on an airplane or anything like that, the tech is getting really close. Like they're like $350 in the US, and I think it's getting to the point that you'll soon be able to get these things connected to your iPhone and be able to watch movies and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to that. It's actually closer than I thought it was. Oh, but instead of that, what I did get this week, well, I'll show you there. Jajang! I got this. A lot of people ask me, so when I talk about this being ANSI, what's an ANSI keyboard? So I can show you. Here's my regular Japanese keyboard. And Japanese keyboard, JIS layout. The cool thing about this, this is custom made. They're both from Vimilo, by the way. This one's completely custom. I designed this myself. This one has, you can tell ISO or JIS because they've got the big blocky enter key, but also the layout of some keys, particularly the @ mark for emails is down here. It's not above number 2. Also, you've got some extra keys. You've got keys down here and up here, down here and up here for switching to Japanese, which American ANSI layout keyboards don't have. So this is JIS layout, and this is what my fingers have been using for 25 years. So whenever I use an American layout keyboard and the keys, some of the keys are in different places, and I start making typos and hitting the wrong keys, I get really frustrated. However, I've been waiting for a wireless version of this to come out. This one I have to plug in. So I was waiting for Vimilo to make a wireless version of this, but with a Japanese layout, and it wasn't coming. And I thought, well, I want to get a wireless one for work because, you know, I need something compact that I can put away, and I've got wires all over my desk all the time. So I went out and I realized, okay, if I get an American layout, an ANSI layout, so you see the regular sort of rectangular enter key here, lots of Japanese people do use these. You can still flip into Japanese easily enough. I have to retrain my fingers a little bit. But if I can do that, then I can actually get keycaps and I can customize this myself. I can change the design. And I love this keyboard. This is so good. I got silent mechanical keys. So it's like, it feels like luxury, basically. I mean, I love mechanical keyboards to begin with, but these are like dead silent. They're all like lubed, silent, linear key, switches. They're not cherry. They're called Kyle H or something, prestige silent caps. But I love this thing, and it's wireless. I'm using this right now wirelessly. So yeah, this is a little treat I got for myself, and I am loving it. I'm using it for a few days so far. I'm going to be taking it into work this week, and I am looking forward to that. So yeah, Aaron in the comments there. Oh, I'm not actually selecting comments enough this week. So we've got DJay Sunny Side Up met a German in the ocean. And you got lost looking for me at the station. Oh, well, that's right. That's right. Actually, yeah, you had an adventure with the trains yourself. You were on a tricky train line. Yeah, sorry about that, Aaron. But it was very nice to meet up with you. And Sergeant Bilko, I'm glad that you like the keyboard. I like the keyboard too. This is awesome. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, sorry, I just saw something there. We've got, have I seen the recently announced HHKB Studio keyboard? There's a JIS layout version of that too. Oh, you're making me want to go look. Okay, I'm going to go look. HHKB Studio. What does it look like? Images. It looks nice, but you know, I like the one that I got. Okay, that looks cool, and it's got the little pointer in the middle. I'm down with that. I used to actually like using those with the old Lenovo notebooks, but actually, I'm good. I'm good with what I've got. But that is cool. I'm going to look at that more closely later. So thank you for the recommendation there, Independence. Boom, Sadiq. What is the brand? This is called Vimilo. Varmilo. And what I like about this is that they're artisanal keyboards. They're handmade by a small little factory in China. But my original one, like, you just tell them everything. You tell them what bottom you want, what top you want, what keys you want, what colors you want, what switches you want, and they build it for you. So you can't mess it up. You know, like if you built it yourself, you've got to do soldering and stuff like that. And I would be worried that I'll mess up and have keys that don't work. So this is like pro-made, custom for you. You pay a little bit extra for it, but you know, keyboard you use every day. So you want it to be nice. And you know, I get a lot of compliments on this, so I love this. So this is what I've got at home. My one at work though, I need to fit into a smaller locker, and I wanted it to be wireless. So this was already pre-designed, but I'm going to put my own custom keys onto it later on, try to get some interesting color combinations. But yeah, Vimilo. So what I like about it is you get all the benefits of a custom keyboard without taking the risk of customizing it yourself and screwing it up and wasting $100. So there are lots of keyboards like this right now, but I do think, if you think about it, if you work with a keyboard, which I do, if you spend like 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day on a computer, get a good keyboard, get a mechanical. I don't know why you wouldn't. So that's, and among that, these Varmilo ones I really, really like. I've shared links for it, I think, on Facebook and here, but Varmilo, super cool. In fact, I can probably, can I do that? L function up. There we go. You can make it light up. You can control the backlights for it as well. So actually, I think I can function. Here we go. Get blue backlight. I can make it all RGB. I can make it whatever I like, but I like the blue highlights for it. So yeah, super cool keyboard. Anyway, Varmilo, yes, that's it. So I'm a fan, and I'm very happy with that. So that's probably going to be my birthday present to myself, unless I decide to get some super AR glasses or something, but they don't look like they're quite there yet. What else we got going on this week? Oh, geez. So I read this story. There's a top university is asking Japanese companies to stop pressuring students. So there are situations here where, like, the University of Tokyo has told companies, like, sometimes when you've got companies competing to hire the best students out of universities, sometimes you'll have companies that'll actually, like, in front of them say, call up the other companies and turn them down now. Well, they're not giving them firm offers themselves anyway, but they want to lock them in and not let them take offers from other companies. So they do all sorts of pressure tactics around this, around these kids, for jobs that don't pay very well, and it just signifies how they're going to sort of abuse you. So yeah, this just reminded me how there was a thing in IT where there was a phenomenon of people who would, like, quit their job to go to a better job, and their boss would say, I don't accept your resignation, you're not allowed to quit, and people would believe that and not quit. And that even happened to me once when I tried to quit a Japanese company. I've talked about this before. I said, hey, I've decided to move on to a new opportunity, so I'm giving you, it's actually 1 month, but I'll give you 3 months notice and I'll help you find the next person. And my boss said, I do not accept your resignation. You are not allowed to leave. And I said, I'm a lawyer, and I was moving to a law firm. And I was even in a legal research department team, and the guy who was saying this to me was a law professor, and he was saying, no, your resignation notice is invalid. And I'm like, what you're saying is irrelevant. Like, well, your lips are moving and nothing that makes sense comes out. I am telling you, I'm leaving, and I'm very appreciative. I want to go out in good terms, and can I help manage the transition? He's like, no, you're not allowed to leave. And I'm like, it's already done. He's like, no, it's not. And then he actually said, I'm issuing you a formal reprimand for resigning. This happened at one of my old jobs. I was kind of like, yeah, I actually switched to speaking in English. At that point, we were speaking in Japanese until he issued me a reprimand. And then I flipped into English. And then at the end, he said, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to accept your resignation just as punishment. It was a weird conversation. But yeah, companies, there's a lot of Japanese who fall for that stuff. And all I can say is, while going for foreign companies, gaishike is one way to avoid that. That said, there are a lot of gaishike in Japan that are not really gaishike, like Hewlett-Packard is a famous one, that are complete rogue operations. They're using the brand name, but they're not really a foreign company. They're really completely Japanese, and they're completely isolated from the rest of the world, and they operate like, and often those companies actually act like worse Japanese companies than like bad Japanese companies. So you have to be careful with your gaishike research, but generally, gaishike do not abuse their workers like that. So there you go. My boss sounds like a jilted lover. You have no idea, Aaron. Yeah, no, that was it was like a Monty Python skit. It was very stressful at the time, but I could see the humor in it. But again, you have to have a lot of internal fortitude when you're dealing with a boss, kind of like gaslighting you that you didn't just resign when you just resigned. And there are people who lose on this all the time. And I was able to laugh it off and just say, no, I am resigning. But he was basically trying to convince me I hadn't just resigned. It was weird. So what else we got? 270 AJ. What else is going on this week? More mulling over AR glasses that I'm going to get at some point, but not quite yet. Japanese rugby, getting frustrated that I want to follow if you're into rugby, if you enjoyed the Rugby World Cup, which I did, even though we lost in the final. Basically, all the All-Stars of the Rugby World Cup are coming to play for Japanese clubs in December. The Japanese rugby tournament at the end of this year is going to be like a global All-Stars tournament. It's going to be amazing. Players come here because there's good money. They don't play so many games, so they lower their risk of getting injured. And generally speaking, Japanese rugby is considered not to be as physical or sort of injury risk as others. So you get a lot of foreign players who come to Japan and they actually come away from it healthier and fitter, and they end up getting back into their national teams again. A lot of players in the World Cup were playing their club rugby in Japan. So it attracts a lot of players, particularly older players who want to extend their rugby lives and get good money before they retire. And it's going to be amazing. So I've been looking for, as well as looking to get back into rugby refereeing, I've been looking for information on, okay, where are all the clubs? I want to sort out which clubs have the players I like the best, and I'm just going to pick one and decide to support it this season. And Japanese rugby is just so disorganized. There's just no good information on this, even though you keep reading in the news that, for example, the New Zealand captain, Sam Cane, this guy, the New Zealand captain's coming to play for Suntory, for good times. He made it Suntory times. So many other, of the best players of the world are coming here. And it's crazy. Yeah, anyway, so I'm looking forward to that. And if you ever are into watching sports or whatever, rugby is a good one to follow. DJ Sunny set up. Congrats on the big Ningen dock, and everything went well. That's always having the barium is always a bit of a tough one for the Ningen dock, but low on calcium. Well, that's an easy one. Just eat more ice cream, so that's a good one. Running shoes, keyboards, decks. Oh, I see. Aaron talking about my geek outs. Yes, yeah. Well, I'm a little bit nerdy. That's why I'm in Japan. But you're right. I've definitely dived too deep on chairs, Herman Miller. Keyboards, Van Miller, running shoes, yes, Nike Vaporflies, custom designed, yes. Butter, yes, definitely got butter here. Big shout out to Ben Duncan's mum. Always got butter, thanks to that. So I do have my things. I have my quirks, what can I say? No, I caught it now, Aaron. And you're absolutely right. So my Christmas wish list. So this is I'm trying to find new things. So I think my new thing's going to be wearing AR glasses, basically Minority Report glasses. That's what I'm looking forward to next. So we'll get there. What else have we got here in the comments? We've got 5 more minutes left. We've got a power stage. Eddie Jones just quit the Australian rugby team, so he might be coming to Japan. I hope he does, even though people in Australia don't like him very much anymore. 2 news stories this week involving 86-year-olds. So my comment is that 86 seems to be the new 16. First of all, an 86-year-old man goes into the doctor's, and when he gets to the doctor, he just stays silent, pulls out bug spray and sprays it in the doctor's eyes. In another case earlier this week, there was tell me you're a Yakuza without telling me you're a Yakuza. There's a old Japanese guy, where is it? Wow, there's a lot of stuff there. There he is. 86-year-old with a gun held some people hostages in a post office. Apparently they asked him why, and he said, I don't like post offices. Again, what the hell is wrong with 86-year-olds? In a country where no one has guns to begin with. Also, there was another story which was just weird this week. There was in fact, no, it wasn't from this week. Someone posted that how rare gun stories are in Japan. He pointed out that 4 years ago, someone was arrested with an illegal gun from a gang. Guns are almost always only owned by members of gangs. So the police put it on display. Where not only did they put it on display like that, but they also showed the bullets. And if you look at the bullets, they numbered the bullets one by one. And look even more closely, they dismantled the bullets. So they dismantled the bullets and they numbered them individually and put them on display. Could you imagine, in America, if there was a bust involving a gun, they found a gun and they actually numbered and displayed each one of the bullets dismantled? Now, while this is kind of crazy, I would rather live in a country that was crazy, that confiscating an illegal gun was such a big deal that they would do this, than living in a country where people are crazy because everyone thinks it's a God-given right to own a gun. But that is weird. I mean, I come from a country with gun ownership, with licenses. It was cracked down on after there was a mass shooting in the 90s that caused a big crackdown. And of course, we had the mosque shooting as well, which I think doubled down on that. But when I grew up, we had 3 rifles in the house. And I grew up hunting and so on. And I don't have a problem with, I mean, I've never had a handgun, and I don't see the point of a handgun. I grew up literally in country towns with, rabbit and deer hunting rifles. But so I'm not anti-gun. But I feel better being in a country where this is how finding a gun is treated than being in one where they're everywhere. That's just me. So I'm sure they removed. I mean, if they actually removed the what do they even call it? The casing from the shell of the bullet. If they did that for every single bullet, I'm pretty sure they would have removed the firing pin. I can't imagine that they wouldn't have. So. Yeah, what else has been going on in Japan? Johnny Somali, latest update. So heroes and villains. That guy in the beginning, hero, this person has been charged by the police. They were detaining, you remember they detained him first for trespassing onto a construction site, and then they rearrested him after 23 days or 25 days or something. They rearrested and started the clock again on another 28-day long detention for questioning on basically interfering with business at a restaurant where he was playing racist music and abusing the staff, basically just being an asshole. And police announced that it seems like he's been basically in detention and questioning. He's being held in police detention for questioning for about probably over 50 days. The fact he was held that long implies to me that he probably hasn't confessed. And in fact, the police said that they won't proceed with the trespass charges, which is strange in a way because he videotaped himself doing it. But I guess that they're videotaped. He live streamed himself. There's no videotape involved. But they're letting him off that one. I mean, I don't know whether he'll claim that he didn't realize it was private property or something. But in the restaurant one, it's pretty clear that he was intentionally trying to disrupt the business. So they are charging him with that, for which he could face up to 3 years jail. Remembering it'll take 6 to 12 months before he even gets to trial. But yeah, he is in. One thing that's been interesting about this for me is while I agree that this is a kind of a classic fucked around and found out story, and it's hard to feel like if you actually watch the videos that he's been charged with, I mean, he's deliberately trying to be as bad a terrible human being as possible, and he it's the sort of thing where the videos of him getting punched in the face and knocked out are streamed with millions of people cheering, and that seems to be what he's even aiming for. So he's a classic unsympathetic person, but the number of people really reveling in his suffering, what he's going through for a modern country like justice system is pretty awful. As global standards go, it's well below global standards. And this is you talk about a sort of a system that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. He did all this in Japan, and you wear the consequences of it, and and you could say he deserves it in a way. But being held in detention for questioning, where the police are controlling your sleep and your food, in a way, if he didn't confess, my advice would be confess, because if you don't confess at the end of it, you're going to get actually a harsher sentence anyway. And how could you not? You filmed yourself doing it. But the fact he's held on, but the fact is he still is going to go into a hole. He's had probably no communications with anybody, family, lawyers, anybody, and he's just going to be held, I mean, for at least another 6 to 12 months, and then probably do jail time and then get deported. The thing is, so he could be leaving Japan, be getting deported up to 4 years from now, and no one's going to remember him by then. And but genuinely, you think about it, it's like you hear about criminals being put in isolation or whatever. It's kind of like that. It's going to really damage him. It's kind of inhumane the way that they treat people. But it's kind of funny at the same time as you hear so many people on Twitter being so sympathetic and worried about the bad in this world, and this person is definitely part of the bad, but at the same time people can celebrate sort of dehumanizing people as well. I shared this fucked around and found out, but at the same time I don't feel good about the way that he's being about what he's going through. I know how horrible it is. I think it shows how easily we can flip towards dehumanizing people just because we see them a certain way. And granted, this guy was playing up being seen as a terrible person, But I'm also kind of a little bit disturbed at how quickly and easily people do dehumanize other people. And thinking, yeah, it's actually like, oh, I'm actually more freaked out by the cheering responses to this than I am, it's on a par with what he did. So yeah, the internet can be a scary place. I wouldn't wish what he's going through on anyone, even him. But there again, here's your lesson. Just don't do this sort of stuff. So many people come here and Gaijin smash and expect to get away with it and go home, and it pisses everybody off, including me. But he's getting the full baseball bat treatment at the moment, and that's a harsh thing. Other quick things. We're up on time, but Japan is giving the Philippine Coast Guard bigger ships to be able to handle Chinese bullying, which they're now calling overseas official security assistance, because it would be rude to call it FCA. There's the guns. The guy who invented the punch perm in the 70s has gotten some kind of an award. I think if he invented that nowadays, it would probably be considered appropriation. You'd probably get in trouble for it. It's the style where you get that sort of African boxer haircut type thing, which tough guys, basically punks in the 60s liked. And you still see a lot of old people who do it. And there are Japanese, by the way, who have naturally curly hair, like full Japanese, like not even mixed, who have it. Some people have the gene for it. But yeah, he's the guy who invented that sort of perm for guys who want to look extra tough. And that's pretty much it for this week. It's been an interesting week. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the eggs. On the slow news day, it didn't even pop up here. You're living in, I was literally going through the news the other day, and the only news story that I could find was Japanese have the highest rate of 85% of Japanese like eggs, the second highest rate in the world after Mexico. To which I must ask, there was a bit of a catchphrase in politics a few years ago, is only being number two. There was a case with a supercomputer in Parliament where the opposition was saying, why do we have to spend so much money? Where can we find where can we find savings? And the guy said, well, we need this $1 trillion budget for the supercomputer so we can retain our number one spot with supercomputers. And the opposition politician member, I think it was Renho, said, hey, what's wrong with being number two? And it kind of became a catchphrase for putting her down in a way, saying, it's okay for you with being number two? Like, we want to be number one. So apparently for Japan, I don't know, is it okay being number two on liking eggs? Does Japan not want to be number one? Like, seriously, we're going to just take that from Mexico and the huevos, I remember some Spanish. It took me a second. A lot of people responded with, let me tell you about a story. It's been like this ever since a long time ago. Somebody mentioned, that was a good pun. I did respect that. But yes, does Japan have the huevos to be number one for the country that most likes eggs? I guess we're going to find out next year when they probably do the survey again. And when Japan wins, probably appeals to have it made a part of UNESCO World Heritage. So stay tuned for that. And I think that's about it for this week. Anime Samurai, good to see all the other people who have rocked in late. Sorry if I didn't get to say hello to you, but what can we do? Do take care. I hope you're having as good weather where you are as I am. Even though it is a sign of the apocalypse and the world is coming to an end, I intend to enjoy it with some pleasant walks. Stay safe. Take care of each other. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, and I'll be back here same time next week, 10:30 p.m. Japan Standard Time. So have a good one, everybody, and boom, peace. Ending stream. Boom.